Hi everybody and welcome to today's Mediaworks Masterclass. We've got something a little different again today, where we're working with one of our partners at Worldpay. As I say, you might not have heard of Worldpay before, but I'm sure as this session goes on, you'll hear all about everything that we're doing with Worldpay, but also sort of how they operate more widely and potentially the opportunities that exist out there for your businesses. I guess introduction for myself, I'm the Group Operations Director here at Mediaworks. I'll be hosting today's Mediaworks Masterclass, but I guess less about me and more about the people who are joining me. So Mark, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark. I am Mediaworks Chief Financial Officer. I've been with the agency for about 8 years now. I guess my role looks after all aspects of financial control, planning, forecasting, finance strategy, and that involves things like risk management, helping the agency to grow sustainably, but also evaluating potential commercial opportunities such as the partnership with Worldpay.
Thanks, Mark. And Chris?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, David. Chris Atkinson from Worldpay. I work in the corporate sales team, assisting businesses with anything payments related. Worked in payments 16 years across a few different businesses.
So I guess sort of from our perspective, let's do a bit of an intro to Worldpay. Let's talk about sort of why we've thought about originally partnering with Worldpay, Mark.
Yeah, I guess so we first started looking at the potential partnership with Worldpay, and I think we quickly saw that there was a lot of potential synergies between the two organisations. So obviously at Mediaworks, a lot of what we do is designing, building and optimising digital platforms for our clients. And as part of that, we're always looking at how we can drive maximum performance and value for money from those technologies. And that's really where Worldpay comes in. Worldpay is a leading financial technology business. It offers a comprehensive and cost-effective suite of payment processing services. And really, we saw a lot of kind of alignment between what we do and what Worldpay can offer for our clients.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting working with Worldpay, thinking about all of the technology solutions, how it integrates with everything that we do. But I think for us, the really exciting bit is about where Worldpay can really fit with our client base. And I know we're going to talk a little more about that in a second, Chris. So do you want to talk about, I guess, for those that don't know who Worldpay are,
yeah,
can you give us a bit of background on that?
Yeah, of course. So Worldpay is like one of the largest acquirers in the world. So, whether it's payments online, over the phone, face to face, we support businesses like kind of with all their needs. The numbers on the screen kind of speak for themselves, but I think one thing that's on here is the variety. It's giving customers the choice to pay through their preferred means and their particular currency.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's taking the trouble away through integrations as well.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest challenges that you do see in that space is probably quite different for Worldpay than other providers. It is across different currencies, across different platforms.
Yeah.
It's platform agnostic in a lot of ways, whereas often you see particular payment gateways or payment providers that are very specific to specific web platforms or different builds, etc.
100%. And I think the other thing which comes with it is like the kind of people, the expertise, like you guys are experts in what you do. Similar with Worldpay, the recruitment that they've done, it's that consultancy approach.
Yeah. And I guess sort of what do you actually do when you think about it? I guess, people will be saying things like payment gateways, and we're talking about payment platforms and transactions online, but how does it actually work?
Yeah, so I suppose, we get involved with anything payments. When people think of payments, they think payments online, payments in store, but then you've got automated payments through IVR lines. We've also got the ability to pay out. And this is like a really interesting concept, which, people don't necessarily think about, but payments to cards or even payments overseas. If businesses are buying equipment, products from China, we can fulfill like kind of that payment as well. So anything to do with payments, really.
Yeah, and I think a big bit as well is around that sort of business support that you can actually get as well. I think for us, when we work with clients, we have very much a partnership approach. Yeah. And I know that's something that's like a strong ethos throughout your business as well, Chris.
100%. I think having the ability to speak to somebody and, maybe not necessarily a generic number or email, but that personal approach. And, that's one thing that we've done for Mediaworks customers. But I think as well, due to like the kind of history of Worldpay, you know, we've been going 50 years plus, that also brings like reliability, stability and trust, which a lot of customers want.
Okay. So I guess then, in your experience, I guess we talk about this model. We talk about this model whereby you can see payment gateways sit between the IT team, the financial team, and the marketing team. And I guess, where does that actually sit?
Yeah, you know, it's a really interesting question, because when we speak with businesses, we're speaking with like, you know, a variety of stakeholders. You've got like your kind of the FDs who are looking at it from the bottom line, you know, is it cost effective? Can we get a deal better elsewhere? You've then got the tech guys who don't necessarily care about the cost, you know, they want it to work, they want ease of integration, they want updates to come like on a regular basis. And then, you know, you've got the marketing guys who effectively want it to do everything that it does. It's nice and shiny, they can promote it.
Yeah.
But in the middle of those three teams, you've got the payment gateway being the key element of that.
Yeah. And I guess, Mark, from our perspective, sort of, what do we need to do from an IT perspective, or why did we partner with Worldpay?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when we started looking at the potential opportunity to work with Worldpay, we approached it very much from kind of our customers' perception and what they would value. I think first and foremost, you know, we like to partner with local businesses that operate in the same markets that we do. Yeah. We're a Northeast headquartered business. Chris and his colleagues sit just down the road from us. And I think that dedicated local face-to-face point of contact, as Chris has already said, was really important, as opposed to that kind of generic online and telephone support. They're clearly an industry-leading gateway solution, and they own all of the IP and the tech. So clearly, as technology evolves, they can continue to develop and optimize those solutions. They've also got a lot of best-in-class integrations and APIs. So whether that's shopping cart integration or back-end reporting, there's generally something there that already works. I think we saw that you know, every Worldpay client will have a solutions architect or a solutions consultant, so really understanding through a discovery process the needs of the client and tailoring the solution to them, and also the implementation manager who will look after the onboarding process and make sure that's seamless and efficient. They've got a host of different checkout options, as Chris has already said, whether that be online, retail, point-of-sale terminals, and so on, and those can be branded either as Worldpay or kind of feature the client's branding. Yeah. Chris has already mentioned IVR partners. I think you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but that's interactive voice response. So that's kind of you know, the ability to take payments over the phone through key tone recognition or voice recognition. They can support future payments, so payments and deferred installments for purchase. They work with a variety of different card providers like Amex and Visa and MasterCard, but also alternative payment methods like Klarna and PayPal and Google, so very flexible, very diverse. I think reliability is really important for us. We want to partner with businesses that have got the same kind of ethos around quality. You guys work to a 5 nines uptime metric, so again, very, very solid, reputable, resilient. And then probably the biggest thing for us was that degree of trust and authority in the market. And clearly you guys work with some of the biggest global brands, which, you know, I think there's some credentials that we'll show, but you know, that speaks for itself in terms of the type of businesses that Worldpay already support.
Yeah, I think we talked there about sort of reliability and trust, and I think those awards as well on the right-hand side are really a testament to that. And I think it goes back to, we wouldn't recommend something to clients that we didn't believe in ourselves as well. And I think when you look at your credentials, I think it's easy to see sort of why we've partnered with yourselves, Chris. I think, you know, you can see all of those logos that we see on screen, but I guess, you know, like Tesco, Asda, but probably also in some other areas that you wouldn't naturally think of, you know. So I think everybody automatically, when they think sort of your type of system, they think about retail, but actually it's quite different, isn't it, in terms of what we do and how we operate?
Like 100%, you know. We've got like kind of sector specialists at Worldpay who cater for all businesses' needs. You know, you've got different risks, but we're there kind of to support that, and you know, we've got a good appetite for business as well.
Yeah, so I think we teased people, didn't we, with sort of top tips. And I think like to get those 1%, you know, we talked about how do you save money and generate sort of that incremental growth that we've talked about, or teased, if you like. So would you like to just talk about top tips there,
Yeah,
Chris?
of course. You know, I think one of the things that I see is, you know, businesses grow, and, you know, that could be new kind of entities, new sites. But one of the things that they'll do is they'll go to the card provider and say, you know, I need new terminals based on like the new site as such. Because everything's based on kind of volumes, they'll get rates for that. So as an example, I was speaking to someone the other day, they've got 13 entities, 13 different rates, but by grouping them together, we were able to offer that kind of saving, which it is something I'd recommend for all businesses to do.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of the businesses that you deal with, you know, can be quite complex. So that is a massive part of it, isn't it? Enable the ability to pull things together across a group, a collective of businesses is absolutely enormous. I think another thing that we've talked about is speed. So speed to get actually up on the platform, and think about sort of how do you generate that over a long term?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one, because depending on who you speak to will determine like the length they'll work with you. So some directors will say, right, I want to be in a 3, 4, 5 year contract because I don't want to review my cards, you know, for another few years. But in my opinion, you know, the payment industry is changing, it's evolving quick. You don't necessarily want to be tied in for that period of time. If you go on a 12, 18-month contract, it gives you the flexibility. And ultimately, you know, if you are on like good rates, you'll continue with that provider rather than changing.
Yeah. And I think sort of the next bit we talked about was you know, the selection and the variability and the ability to work across organizations, regardless of which bank you're involved with or which payment provider you're currently involved with.
You know, like speaking to a lot of businesses, we tend to see their acquirer will be like the bank partner. So, you know, keep that kind of relationship, trust element as well. But there's no harm speaking to, you know, 10 providers, do like a little bit of a sense check, see what's out there. You know, don't have to take it as gospel that it's right, it's good. You know, we see it with interchange a lot. So just shop around, look at partners, and, you know, trust, like, you know, yourselves to introduce our partners as such.
Yeah, I think another thing that we've talked about is that customer centricity. That's something that we talk about a lot across Mediaworks. We'll talk about being customer obsessed and really getting a granular understanding of our clients and what they do to make sure that we are in a position to advise on the best solutions, whether that be marketing solutions or web-based solutions. Again, that's similar to yourselves, isn't it, Chris?
100%, you know, looking at payment options, you know, if you're thinking what teenagers or the Gen Zs are using, like maybe older people will be completely different, you know, Apple Pay, Google Pay. So it's depending on like the kind of products that you're selling, who you're targeting, which payment methods you would offer. Yeah,
and I guess that links in with this point here where we talk about understanding that customer journey. You know, we do a lot around things like user experience or conversion rate optimization, and making sure that user journey is seamless across the web space. Again, that's something that you think about, which I think was really interesting when we started working with you guys. It wasn't just about thinking about, right, what happens at the point of transaction. It was thinking about what happens upstream, but also what happens downstream.
Like, for me, this is the biggest one. When we meet any business, the first thing that we'll do is, like, you know, that little bit of research. So we're going on their website as if we are their customer, and we're picking up little pain points. But there's nothing stopping, you know, a member of staff doing this themselves to see what it looks like, how it feels. And I would even encourage, go on a competitor's site, do a transaction, and just look at the differences. You know, they'll have strengths, they'll have weaknesses, but ultimately it helps you with your audience and ultimately more conversion.
Yeah, and I think for me, it all sort of goes back around to the piece round. It's about that ease and simplicity of use, because I think one of the things that we look at, thinking about clients I've been speaking to only, you know, a couple of days ago in London that we work with, around that whole piece around what happens when people get to basket and the things like dropout rates, etc., and the impact that minor tweaks and minor efficiencies can actually have. Because if you spend all that money getting customers to site, what you want to make sure is that they don't abandon because of poor IT infrastructure or poor web architecture or poor user experience. And I think that is an enormous piece of
100%. You know, like you analyze your conversion rates, your drop off. Why is that? You know, even querying if Apple Pay or Google Pay wasn't there, or you know, a lot of people are on the go on the phones, didn't have it, didn't want to get me wallet out on the bus or whatever. You know, it's the ease of checkout.
And you work with a really wide range of partners, don't you? I mean, like, again, some of the plugins are mentioned on screen now that you can actually engage with, but do you want to talk about a number of those?
So like we offer like kind of plugins for like ease, quickness, you know, with the likes of Magento, Shopify. You know, you've got that off-the-shelf solution. Now, one of the things that we've done with Mediaworks is we've got like 2 integrations which have in the process of being done, which means that when a client comes to us, it's not a bespoke integration. It's off the shelf, it's quick, you know, we can get them live. I think, you know, the different checkouts will be based on like the needs, which will help with conversion, high authorization rates as well. But one of the things that like Worldpay do is we partner. So, you know, we look to the strengths of, you know, whether it is shopping carts or, you know, businesses like Mediaworks, you know.
So I think, like, and I'm sure we've got lots of questions coming in that we'll deal with in the end, but I think in terms of next steps, if people are interested, is what we've actually set up is an opportunity for people to book sort of a live consultation with you or an appointment with you, Chris, because I think that sort of inevitably people will have questions, very specific questions about how would that work for my specific business in this particular scenario. And I know you're really keen to speak to people. I say whether you're a Mediaworks client or not a Mediaworks client, we're really interested in speaking to people about the opportunity that exists here, because again, you know, for all of the reasons that you've highlighted, this is a massive area for businesses and a massive thing to get right, I think.
100%, and that's why, you know, we're kind of offering this to go out and see businesses, understand not only what they're doing today, but what the plans are for the future, how we can support that growth. And, you know, worst case scenario, you tell them, look, you're with a great provider, you're on great rates, there's nothing we can do, but you've got that element of trust, and, you know, as things change in the future, you're there, but realistically, there will be somewhere that we can help, and that's what you want to do.
And it is a no obligation conversation, isn't it, as well? It's not a this is why you should do it and we are going to do it.
Like,
it's very much.
As I said, you know, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that consultative approach. You know, it's not price driven. So, you know, we're going out, we're reviewing the whole process, we're looking at how we can make things better. And as we're saying, no kind of obligation, just a chat.
No, so as I say, anybody who's interested in booking, we'll do a follow-up email to everybody who's joining the call. But also what you can do is you can book in the live chat now. We'll send a link into that you can literally book straight through into, and hopefully we can get it this side of Christmas in Chris's diary. If it has to be post-Christmas, because I know a lot of people are thinking about breaking up right now, we'll also can schedule in after Christmas. But I think, as I say, if you want to speak about this a little more, then we're here, Chris is here, and we're really keen to speak to people on this. I think we're going to finish with a few questions. So I guess, you know, from a question perspective, one of the areas that we really want to focus on I thought Worldpay only accepted payment. That's the first question. So what are the payout capabilities?
So I touched on this kind of earlier. There's 2 different types. You've got like payout to cards, you know, so the easiest kind of way, you know, think gambling, you know, you put a bet on, you win on the horses, you get the money back on your card. One of the things that I absolutely love about Worldpay was when I learned like the push to account solution. So this could be a holiday company, so you pay your holiday, but obviously there's different elements to that. You've got the airlines, you've got your transfers, you've got your hotel, products overseas. So people think of kind of Worldpay as the payments in, the acceptance of payments, but we can also do the payments out as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that is. I think that's a very different position than what we've seen as well, Mark, from other providers. I think one of the things that we often get is this. So a question that came in is, I've looked at moving before and developer costs were high. Will that be the case here?
So no, we've mentioned the plugins that are like off the shelf, but the main benefit to Mediaworks customers, you guys have done the integration. So if an integration doesn't exist, it takes time. It could be anything from 24, 48 hours to a couple of weeks. So, companies tend to charge for this privilege. With you guys, you've done it as a benefit to your customers, so that when we do speak to them and they want to move ahead, it's all done. So there's been no cost element.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on that, Mark? In terms of, from our perspective, Mediaworks' perspective?
No, I think it's as Chris says, we've done the upfront work there and developed out those integrations already. So it's about trying to make it as frictionless as possible to onboard with Worldpay if there's a compelling business case to do that. It's in everybody's interests to try and make that as cost effective, and that means if we can invest in that upfront integration piece, it just removes some of that kind of initial capital outlay from the client.
Yeah, and we've got a follow-up question, Mark, that's came in. So as an FD, Mark, why don't more businesses move their payment providers more often?
I suppose there's probably a little bit of thought around, if it isn't broke, then why fix it? So there might be that perception that if the incumbent payment gateway is, working, then there's not necessarily that priority. Probably also that perception about there being that initial cost of change, which, as Chris has just explained, through our partnership, we'll mitigate and avoid. But I think really, it may not necessarily be high priority for certain FDs and certain businesses, but certainly from the handful of clients and prospects where we've had a look from the outside in to look at the potential cost efficiency and the savings that could be made by moving to Worldpay. Certainly we've seen that you're a very competitive business in that space, and actually there's been substantial savings that we've already been able to identify for some of our clients. So as I say, it's probably one of those things that might not necessarily be high priority if the current solution works. But if you lift the hood, there can actually be quite a compelling business case to support that change.
Yeah, and I guess that plays into the next question that we've been asked, which is around, is there a setup fee to switch and start? I know that's something that a lot of people will be considering here, and everything that we've talked about today, solutions architects, everything that goes into it in terms of, are the upfront costs? Yeah,
so like from our perspective, we're encouraged to charge setup fees because it's our expertise and it's our time as well.
Yes.
An integration, as we say, go live could be over a number of weeks. But one of the things that we've done for Mediaworks customers is remove that setup fee.
Yeah.
So, one of the benefits of the partnership is the preset rates negotiated that you maybe wouldn't get going direct.
Yeah.
Also settlement as well. We're doing next day settlement for Mediaworks customers, so the funds are hitting the account quicker.
Right.
So that can help with cash flow and things like that. So there's lots of little perks to the partnership.
Yeah, so there's minimum downtime in that then, in terms of when you're looking to switch across and how quick that can take place. And I guess that is a leads into the next question, which is sort of, how long does it take to switch? Because I know that would be a consideration for a lot of people right now. And again, you highlighted all of the things around things like onboarding consultants and how does that work. But, how long does it take to switch? So,
to go through the application process, it could be 24, 48 hours. That's all the information's provided. In all honesty, if you give yourself 7 to 10 days, that would be like kind of my recommendation. The integration exists, allow the application and factor it in. But the one thing I would say is, we'll work to the customer's timescale. It could be they want to go live the end of the month, beginning of the month, a quarter. So we always factor that in.
Yeah, and for different businesses, of course, there'll be different times of the year where you can mitigate some of that risk as well, can't you? Because the idea of an e-commerce business switching over, for example, I'm just scarred by Black Friday in terms of how busy we've been over that period. But, it might be something that you want to look at in more of a quieter time. Yeah. But I think you'd be fairly comfortable, wouldn't you, in terms of switching almost at any time because of the solutions that you've got.
100%. You know, a lot of providers these days will have dual providers, and depending on traffic, will go between gateways. So it's an easy switch. It's something that we do on a daily basis, and you know, ultimately we're here to support.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think I'd probably sort of like to finish, and we always finish with this question really, which is sort of future facing, looking forward. So we talk about this when we're talking about LinkedIn, whether we're talking about SEO, we always finish on sort of top tips or what does the future of this area look like. So I guess, Chris, what does the future look like for not just Worldpay, but for sort of payments and open finance?
You know, I think the technology, that's a big thing. You know, 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, you know, you didn't necessarily have contactless. Now you've got it in watches, rings, clothes. So it's going to go like, you know, retina scanning, with, you know, with the eyes ultimately. You know, I think for me, I think open banking will be a big one. I don't think it will replace cards, but we saw the shift from cash to card. I think you'll see card to kind of open banking. I think it's just waiting for a high-end kind of retailer, a household name to take it. You'll see the adoption, but ultimately it's given the customers choice and the benefits to them and the merchants.
Yeah, I think that is what we're seeing across the piece, is that sort of smart technology is taking over. People are wanting things ever increasingly quicker, faster, more efficiently, that integrate with the way that they're currently operating. So I think it's going to be a fascinating space to watch. And we didn't even mention crypto, which is a whole host of other world of mystery that we would like to talk about. I guess, you know, Worldpay and unified payments is a huge advantage. Sort of what does that mean from a data asset point of view?
For me, data's king. You know, whether it's ourselves using that data, you know, for improvement, or like the merchant on how they can do that. So, you know, one of the things that we do for all our customers, you've got like an admin area there, which you can download and interpret information. We've got a data and insights team. We've got access to the schemes, Visa, MasterCard. I know we're talking about a few of the white papers, how we can influence those. So I think it's use us as like the kind of consultants to help you interpret that to then make the improvements.
Yeah, I'm really conscious of time, and I can see there's more questions coming in. But I guess that is a reason for the consultation, really. Yeah. And again, just driving people towards that free, no obligation consultation with Chris and the team. If anybody does want to sign up, as I say, the link's in the chat. We will email a follow-up to this session. But I guess for me, sort of penultimately, I'd like to say thanks very much for Chris and Worldpay for joining us today. I know it's been really exciting to do, for example, the session last month with LinkedIn, and now looking at another partner with the work with Worldpay seems to be sort of a recipe for success, and it's really interesting to learn more about what you guys are doing and how you're operating. So, you know, thank you very much for your time and effort today. So I guess finally, everybody have a great Christmas. This is the last of the Mediaworks Masterclass for 2024. Means I get a little bit of a break ahead of coming back in January, where we'll no doubt be talking about trends for 2025 and other things to look out for. Will be other partnership masterclasses that we've got in store for people. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So have a fantastic Christmas, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the year, and all the best for 2025. And again, thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time today.
Cheers.
Cheers.